So I will go ahead and call us to order. It is 6:37. Julie, could you please do a roll call attendance?
Yep. JC Herman,
I am here.
Natalie Silly,
Here.
Martha Gaines.
Here.
And what do we do with Dolene?
You'll mark what time she joins us.
Okay, great.
I'm guessing she'll be here any minute. Matt Rogers, I see that you're here. Are you interested in making a citizen's comment? You don't have to respond. You can just leave your.
No, I'm just here to observe. I accepted your invitation to come tonight.
Excellent. Happy to have you. Thank you for coming. And we don't have anyone else here, right? Yeah, okay. That brings us to approval of the minutes. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes from May 17th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from May 17th.
Is there a second?
Hi, it's Martha. I just wanted to say I don't know that I received the minutes.
Oh.
Did I miss that?
I don't know. I'll have to go back and double check. Now that you're saying that, I'm not sure I included it in the email that I sent out to Julie last time. I know Natalie and I have seen it.
Okay. I don't know if I've ever officially gone over this, but the minutes are printed out and put in the packet for the board. So that's the way that we are in the habit of viewing them. So if we maybe want to make it part of a meeting follow-up procedure, perhaps, that as soon as the minutes are done, they could be sent out by Julie so that everybody has plenty of time to make sure they've taken a look at it by the next meeting, just moving forward. So I'm going to have to abstain from voting on them since I haven't seen them. Do you want to table it then?
Yes, we're going to need to table it because I'm guessing Elaine hasn't seen them either.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's my fault. I think I forgot to include it in that last email with the final agenda and all that. All right, I will get them out.
I know at some points we've approved so many minutes at once that I don't think we've ever gotten to a point of having a regular procedure for them. So it's not your fault, but I think moving forward, Julie, if you don't mind, as soon as the minutes are ready, just send them out to the committee. I think that's a good way to do it. And that way, it's just sort of a natural procedure that as soon as she finishes them, they're sent out. So
fantastic.
Well, Natalie, you handle this stuff for the board, so I don't know if you or what. Well, it's not like you take the minutes, but do you know what the regular? I guess they're not. What the board doesn't see them until they're included in our packet. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. But we don't have a packet for the committee right now. If we had a time other than the draft agenda that goes out where any materials got supplied to the committee, that would be like a go-to time. But I think part of the reason we don't have a go-to time is that we're not regularly circulating materials before each meeting. And so there hasn't been a go-to time to distribute them. So I would suggest, I'm not in charge or anything, but I would suggest that once the minutes are ready, if Julie sends them out, that way we know that everybody sees them.
No, I agree. I agree because that also, right. I mean, we are all strapped for time. So I think that having more time to look at the minutes is better in general.
I recently created a folder including all of our minutes. Is that something I'm allowed to share with our whole committee?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I think I added JC and Natalie today, but I can add Elaine and Martha and potential members too.
Awesome. Thank you. That'd be perfect. Hi, Elaine.
Julie, is that like a Google folder or something so that it's just updated as you add the minutes?
Yeah, it is I'm currently writing in a document that's in the folder, and it has, or anybody who has editing access to the folder should be able to see and edit the notes.
Okay, I think that's a great idea because then if anybody ever wants to review old minutes, they have the access to it. I don't know that you want to give everybody editing access, maybe view only, but
Right.
I think so. I think it's a good idea. Okay, so we will table the meeting minutes until our next meeting, and I'll make sure you all have access to all that information next time. Okay, so that brings us to our first item of old business, which is for action for us to vote on an updated recommendation for the Park District to adopt Juneteenth. Kimon Hendricks from Evanston Present and Future is here to talk to us about Juneteenth and her plans, which I'm really excited about. I have to say, when I was poking around as we we're going back and forth about naming the holiday, it was really hard to find anything in Evanston that you weren't mentioned in regards to Juneteenth. I thought that was pretty exciting.
Awesome. Good to hear. I mean, I guess. I mean, I don't know how to take that. So am I kicking things off or?
Yeah, do you want to share with us, plans for Juneteenth? We specifically are talking about the difference between calling the holiday Juneteenth and what was the other name? The Freedom. I lost it in my notes here.
National Freedom Day.
National Freedom Day that the state of Illinois has declared. Yeah, if you could share on those 2 points for us, please.
Yeah, so just so I get this correct. So you guys tonight are voting on the name, but more so not just the name, but you guys are giving your employees the day off, things of that nature. If you could clarify a little bit.
Well, we're not a decision-making body, so we're making a recommendation to the Park District Board.
Okay.
And when we come to them next week, we want to make sure that we have all the details exactly how we think they should be, including the name of the holiday and exactly how that works in terms of, if it falls on a Saturday or Sunday, what other days are taken off. So yeah, we've each, done some research to bring to the meeting today to see, what other organizations are doing and what, state and federal and all that.
Gotcha. So you guys are going to make a recommendation regarding the name and what the Park District as a whole, how you guys, participate in Juneteenth going forward, meaning if it lands on the weekend, are you going to have the Monday off or like things like that?
Exactly.
Okay.
Officially adopting the holiday because it hasn't been done at the Park District level yet. Okay.
Got it. Okay. So as you all know, last year, June 17th, Joe Biden signed what is officially the name of it is Juneteenth National Independence Day Act. Juneteenth has existed as a holiday for over 150 years, right? The Black community and other communities and anyone who knew about it celebrated it on June 19th through various forms. There are states that have, done a Juneteenth parade for a very, very long time. It's like nothing new to them, and versus other areas and other states and other communities who've never heard of the holiday before, right? Because it's not taught in schools, it's not something that's widely talked about, and it just became a federal holiday, but it's been a state holiday for some time now and recognized in certain areas as, an official holiday. So when we look into the act that was signed by Joe Biden, I think pretty much all that it says is that it's being recognized as a legal holiday here in America, right? And which is important because a lot of people have downplayed the legitimacy of Juneteenth and what it is. I mean, like I personally just made a post a few days ago on Facebook, and I boosted the post, and there were some white people commenting on it saying that it's a fake holiday. Like literally like a week ago, right? When it's already been declared a legal So those are the terms and the very specific words used in the document. And the reason why is because it has been through this battle of legitimacy, and is this the truth of what happened on June 19th? Things of that nature that goes along the lines with, other things that may be up for debate when it comes to the Black community and history and things like that, and certain white people not wanting to, and I'm going to say not wanting to accept the truth, see the truth, and when it comes to things and how things played out in the past, right? So Juneteenth becoming a federal holiday is also one of the forms of reparations. It's satisfaction. Satisfaction includes things like public apologies, guilty verdicts of some sort, and truth seeking, and holidays like this. It's a form of reparations, and that is called satisfaction. And when you look into the bill, I kind of keep re-saying this because I think it will help you guys and everyone as a whole when we carry forth and really seek out ways to celebrate Juneteenth and make it meaningful and celebrate it as America's True Freedom Day. Is when you put the word legal holiday, it's because it's been through the mud, when it comes to people really wanting to accept that this moment in time really happened and really occurred. And, I think it's awesome that you guys are really going through this motion and bringing me in and formality to really, see how you guys kind of, go forth and I don't want to say legitimize the holiday because it's legitimate, but you want to respectfully make sure that the day is recognized, how it should be. And when I think about, other Black holidays, like let's say Martin Luther King Day, although it is a federal holiday, it took some time before a lot of places really, celebrated that day and gave their employees a day off and things of that nature. It took some time before that actually happened versus we're on the topic of Independence Day, July 4th. Everybody knows how July 4th goes, right? If it lands on that day, you're off that day. That's it. No questions, no exceptions. There's no thought about it, right? And I would like that to be the way Juneteenth goes, going forward, right? It is respected on that same level, no matter what, right? I do understand it's going to take some time to get there because it has just now become a federal holiday. And even though, that is what it is, there is still going to be some sort of opposition there. And you can't make people, and businesses and organizations and places like that celebrate it as such if they don't want to. But that is also part of the push, part of my advocacy, part of my belief as I go organizing the Juneteenth parade and things of that nature, kind of meshing that conversation in there when we talk about Juneteenth and how things are going to, hopefully or, advocate for going forward. So I know this year, Juneteenth is on a Sunday. And I believe when I looked it up, it is publicly going to be celebrated on the 20th, Monday, the 20th. So if you look it up, it will say, forgot the exact word, but it's June 19th, Juneteenth, National Independence Day, but publicly celebrated on Monday, June 20th, because it falls on a Sunday. So that is what's out there right now by whoever updates Google. But I think that's how federally, that's how, they are commemorating the day since it falls on a Sunday. So the Juneteenth parade that I'm planning here in Evanston will actually be on June 18th. So the actual parade that's going to be happening in Evanston is going to be Saturday, June 18th. There will be other types of things that I incorporate on the 19th, but the Race Against Hate will also be that morning, which we are kind of collaborating on different efforts because they normally have their race on Father's Day. And this year, Juneteenth lands on Father's Day. So we are working together to kind of make the weekend an impactful weekend for everyone. And, working with them on different Juneteenth initiatives and spreading the word and things like that. So I'm excited about that. There is another update that I can't speak about yet, but I will be able to speak about soon. And that I will update everyone on regarding the 18th, which is actually pretty cool. Do you guys have any specific questions? I don't know if what I've said so far was helpful.
Go ahead, Natalie.
Sorry, my computer is giving me a hard time today. Can you hear me? Did I freeze?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Come on, thank you so much for talking about that. That was actually something that came up at our last meeting, is that when we looked at what was adopted by the state of Illinois, they specifically state that it's a paid holiday for state workers and public education professionals only when June 19th falls on a weekday. So it's not actually, we were discussing adopting the same kind of policy, I guess, as the state has done, but that would mean for us that it's the same, that it's only a paid holiday for staff if it falls on a weekday. I'm just curious, based on what you were talking about, and I tend to agree with you that, like, I feel like it should be recognized in the same way the 4th of July would be recognized. So I don't know if I feel like I already know your opinion on that, but if you want to say anything more about that as we kind of discuss how we're going to put this recommendation together for the board. And then the second thing I was going to ask you, we're also in looking at what the state of Illinois had passed, they're specifically calling it National Freedom Day. And that kind of struck a conversation for us on, well, we recognize it as Juneteenth. The state is recognizing it as National Freedom Day. What is our opinion on that? Why the change? And we all kind of agreed to break away and do our own personal research on that. But I'm wondering if you have an opinion about that or anything to add to our conversation in terms of either the importance of keeping it as keeping the recommendation as recognizing the day as Juneteenth, or if you feel like it should be maybe both Juneteenth, National Independence Day, or what your thoughts might be on that.
Yeah. So the first thing, I mean, if you guys are able to give your employees a paid day off on Juneteenth, no matter what day it is, that would be my recommendation. Don't know why it was exactly passed that way, but I'm happy that it was passed. It doesn't really make sense for, not every place is only open Monday through Friday, right? And there's going to be plenty of times where Juneteenth lands on a Saturday or Sunday where people are having to go to work. And, when you think about the Black community, if you're going into work on a Saturday, on Juneteenth, it doesn't really feel very good, right? And I don't know, I'm sure the Park District has plenty of Black employees, and just really, finding a way to make that stand out and make them feel centered and heard and special on Juneteenth, no matter what day that it lands on. So if you guys have the power to do that, that would be my recommendation. I don't really know exactly. That's why I was kind of asking those questions in the beginning. I'm not really sure how your body of organization works and stuff, but that would be the recommendation, because it really doesn't make sense to exclude, if Juneteenth lands on a Saturday or Sunday, and if you're a business or organization that is open that day, and it's not a paid day off. I don't know if that helps.
No, I think that's very helpful.
Yeah. And then on the day, so this is where Juneteenth kind of becomes, like, so before it even passed as a federal holiday, when you look it up, you'll see a lot of people refer to Juneteenth as plenty different things. It'll be Freedom Day, Jubilee, National Independence Day. Like, there are always these different titles attached to Juneteenth because it was such an enormous effort that occurred that it does have a lot of these different labels attached to it, but it generally all means the same underlining thing, right? It's all a recognition of what happened on that day and the efforts it took for it to happen, and the different ways that it is celebrated, right? Not everybody celebrates Juneteenth as a parade. Some people prefer to go to church and pray and Jubilee and barbecue and have it be more of like an intimate thing. Then other people celebrate it more openly, so that's why those different labels are kind of attached to it. My thoughts and recommendation would be to use the word Juneteenth, because not a lot of people know what it is still to this day, right? So when you hear National Freedom Day, I think it's a National Independence Day, they could think you're talking about July 4th, you know what I mean? Like, if one doesn't already know. And like the day, June 19th, is very significant, especially if you are really wanting to zone in on, the paid day off being only on Monday through Friday and including Saturday and Sunday, because that day is very important. Just like July 4th, 1776 is very important, right? That day, June 19th. And I think it's such a unique name, the togetherness of the 19th in June. And it's just, so I would never take out the Juneteenth in anything that I kind of like put out there or do or things of that nature, because it, once someone, looks it up, it's just like this whole slew of, information stuff like, what's Juneteenth? Or like, what is that? So that's kind of like my overall thoughts on it. But, other people, you'll see some people refer to, even before Illinois said National Independence Day, like people would call it National Independence or just National Freedom Day, or they say Freedom Day, or they say Jubilee. It's just whatever your preference is. But I think mainly if you already know what Juneteenth is, it's like you kind of tend to like say it in different ways because you already like know the meaning and things of that nature. But I think for, ongoing and really also like hoping to intertwine further education on the meaning of Juneteenth and expanding on it, I think it's important to include that name for folks, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. Thank you. That was really helpful. I did, and we will. Well, let me give you a chance to talk about the parade and all that first, and then the committee members can share some of the information that we found looking around. Martha sent me a really good list today. I didn't make it all the way through it, but I have not yet been to the Juneteenth parade. I mean, I know there hasn't been,
right. Hasn't been a lot,
right?
Hasn't been that many.
Can you tell us about the parts that you're able to share? I mean, I know there's like this, surprise coming up that you can't share yet, but can you tell us a little bit about the parade and the events for the day?
Yeah, so as of now, what's out there, so it's going to be on Saturday the 18th, very similar to how it went last year, except a lot more people. We're going to stage at the Robert Crown parking lot, and we're going to head down Dodge and end at the Civic Center, which there will be additional festivities, performance, music, food, things of that nature after the parade. Staging will start about 10 a.m. We'll start traveling down the streets at around 11 a.m. This year, we do have the attendance of the Jesse White Tumblers that's going to be a part of the parade, which I'm really excited about. And that's pretty much all I can say right now. I'm really, you know, interested in getting you guys on board in any capacity that you think that you can help out, as wide as volunteering, becoming a sponsor, spreading the news, promoting, things of that nature.
Fantastic.
And if you have any specific questions for me, let me know.
Yeah, come on, I'll be in touch with you. I'll email you again. So
Okay.
we can figure out how Ridgeville can support you, because that all sounds really exciting.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for all that information. I particularly appreciate the insight, right? Like, it's one thing to go around the internet and be reading articles that other people have written. But I think that having someone that's particular to Evanston be able to give us some insight, I think has been really helpful. I want to make sure that when we make this recommendation, we make it, you know, we do it well and we do it right. So I appreciate that information. In terms of the rest of the committee, does anybody have any information that they want to share in terms of their research on like the different names and such that you found?
I'll just say quickly, I did a search of some local park districts, specifically the Chicago Park District, Evanston's Park and Recreation Department, and Skokie Village. And they all have various Juneteenth celebrations, and they all refer to the holiday and celebrations as Juneteenth. I believe that Skokie refers to their celebrations as Juneteenth National Independence Day. I think they use both, but the word Juneteenth is used in everything that I found. Additionally, the city of Chicago also has many things going on, and they all refer to the holiday as Juneteenth as well.
Excellent, thank you.
I kind of focused my research. I didn't find a ton of time, but I did, you know, focus within the time that I had on news articles, because I was curious if there was anything out there to sort of point at a reason for the differences in different, you know, the different names that are out there. I certainly didn't find, and I didn't think I would find, any reason to not call it Juneteenth. It was more like all of these other names and why those ones exist, because Juneteenth is of course the original name. And I think it makes a lot of sense to honor the people who were alive at that time and experiencing Juneteenth as it was happening for the very first time. It matters what they chose to call it, you know, like I want to honor and celebrate and perpetuate that. And I also, like I said, didn't come across a single reason not to call it Juneteenth. Like I didn't hear anyone arguing we should call it this instead because. So for those two reasons, I mean, it definitely seems like Juneteenth is the way to go. From a personal standpoint, I definitely like the expanded names, the Juneteenth National Freedom Day or Juneteenth Emancipation Celebration or those kinds of things, because it's simply more informative to add that extra wording for anyone who doesn't know what it is. But it gets wordy, you know what I mean, when we make it long. So, I mean, I certainly think that, you know, without needing to drag the conversation out too much longer, Juneteenth is a good fit in terms of what we as Ridgeville officially call it. But Kimon, as JC said, we are a committee, and then we deliver our recommendations to the board, and the board is the body that's elected officials who make the decisions for the park district. And so we wanted to talk it through. We wanted to talk to you. We wanted to do some research, and then we give it to the board, and then the board makes the official call. So beyond the conversation we're having tonight, we might hear additionally from the board when it gets dropped into their lap. But again, like, I can't foresee any reason why it won't pass, first of all, to be officially recognized. And also, you know, I don't foresee any reason why we would call it something entirely different than Juneteenth. I mean, Juneteenth seems to be the right fit. And Kimon, you made an excellent point that I hadn't thought of, which is that when people look up Juneteenth, like if we call it that, and then that leads to people looking it up so they can say, I need to learn about Juneteenth. What's this all about? Looking it up as Juneteenth, it's not like they won't find information in other ways, but that's a great way to start looking up all of the history of the holiday, is using its original name and its sort of proper name. So I like that as an additional reason to go with that title. And I did share with JC, as you heard already, a list of links that I put together, almost all of which I read through entirely, but sometimes I was reading things because one article linked to another one, and I would read it and get something from it, but go back to the original article. And some of them, of course, require you to have a subscription, so you can only read so much before you pay. So, you know, I don't mean to say that I familiarized myself with the content 100%, but I did include each of those links because there was something valuable in them, and I thought it would be cool if my list could be shared, but I didn't want to violate OMA by sending it out to everybody. So Julie, if you don't mind, I'll send that to you, and then you could share with everybody.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Elaine, do you have anything you want to add?
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to add that I think Juneteenth is a wonderful name, and it's just full of it. To me, it's full of excitement. It's full of joy. It's a wonderful name. And those other things, you know, that are more explanatory, that's fine. But I think that we really, really need to stay with the original name. It captures some of the, you know, just some of the thrill, the joy of having that finally happen after so incredibly long. I love it, and so I hope we stick with it.
Awesome. I mean, I shared with you all how I feel at our last meeting. I have a hard time with this idea of calling it Freedom Day when I personally don't see what happened after that being freedom. I think that Juneteenth is a much more accurate term for that day. So I think, unless anyone else wants to add anything, I think we might be someone to have a motion to put forth for the recommendation.
JC, I think the last thing that we just have to kind of finalize in terms of the recommendation amongst the committee is if we're going to recommend to the board that they recognize the holiday as a paid holiday, regardless of the day it falls upon. I think what Kimon said is very important. We do have African-American individuals on our staff, and I think it's a really fair, especially in June, we have people working all the time and events and all kinds of stuff. So I think that's really poignant that, you know, that it needs to be recognized regardless of the day so that people can celebrate accordingly.
I agree with you. And, you know, of course, my mind goes straight to camp. I also think that it's a really important way for the campers to make sure that the campers know, right? That they're not just, you know, the Evanston school districts are trying to do a better job to make sure that Evanston kids are familiar with this holiday. But I think it's just another step that we need to take to make sure that that information is making it out there and that we're really putting the importance to the holiday that it deserves. So I personally agree, Martha and Elaine, I'm not sure how you both feel, but I think that despite the fact that the state of Illinois is doing something different, I think that we should recommend to the board that it's a paid holiday, the same as the 4th of July, you know, right? Like the same as these other holidays, that even if it falls on a weekend, that it still gets acknowledged on a weekday.
I feel like I've been struggling a little bit with the idea of it being a paid holiday, partly because paid holidays mean everybody's just home or wherever. They're not at work, and they may or may not be doing anything that has to do with the holiday. And by honoring the official celebration of Juneteenth, I have this like desire for everybody to focus on Juneteenth instead of just whoopee, we get a day off, if that makes any sense. And yet I feel like there is this legitimizing element to recognizing it as fully as possible, quote unquote. And that would mean, you know, that we're not just putting lip service or like in official writing that we adopt this holiday. we're taking it to sort of the fullest extent, which is that it's actually a paid holiday. So I agree with doing that from that standpoint. I also just want to head anyone off at the pass who might be like, well, what if they add a bunch of other holidays and we're just going to give that one paid and this one paid? I came across in my research that recognizing Juneteenth on a federal level as a federal holiday was the first edition of a new holiday since 1983, I think. So this obviously doesn't happen very often, and this is a big deal. So it absolutely should be a holiday. And why would we, there's kind of just like an uncomfortable question that comes up if we don't recognize it as fully. Because if we were to do that, why? Why are we not taking it seriously? Are we not trying to recognize the importance? So again, like I'm definitely on board with having it be a paid holiday. I think there's many more reasons to do so than not.
Awesome.
But I think the one tricky thing with that is that, and I'm still not totally clear, on a federal level, it's only a paid holiday if it falls on a weekday. Is that correct?
I don't know the research about, I looked up the state level, what the state of Illinois had adopted.
Okay.
And the state of Illinois specifically recognizes it as a paid holiday only if it falls Monday through Friday. If it falls on a weekend, they don't add a day, right? So like 4th of July is a paid holiday. If 4th of July falls on a Saturday, we're off on Friday. If it falls on a Sunday, we're off on Monday. So the state of Illinois didn't take that step in their adoption. But I don't know about the federal level.
I have it on good authority that it's a paid federal holiday.
No matter which day of the week it falls on?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Um,
my recollection too. My sister is a federal employee and I'm pretty sure she gets Juneteenth off now, regardless of when
Yeah.
it falls.
When you
Right,
look
come
it
on.
up, it says Juneteenth, Sunday, June 19th, but recognize, and then it says Monday, the 20th as like the actual recognition federally.
It is.
Well, I don't know if that's, the 20th is the day we get off.
Yeah, they
Right.
get off the 20th, but it's definitely a federal, it's a federal paid holiday.
Treated the same as the 4th of July,
Correct.
as it should be.
That's right.
that seems easier too and more consistent in my mind that it's a paid holiday. Not, oh, this year it's this way, this year it's this way. I mean, it just seems like, if it's going to be a paid holiday for some of the years, whenever it falls on a weekday, why not just go with, and so would that mean it's like whether the Friday or the Monday is closer, or do we have a strict just falls on the next Monday? You know what I mean?
No, if it's on a Saturday, then we're off on Friday. And if it's on a Sunday, then we're off on Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how the 4th of July works. Yeah. I mean, there aren't a lot of holidays, actually. I'm realizing that sort of are the date that they are, no matter what day of the week. Because it seems, well, I guess Christmas works that way. But Thanksgiving, you know what I mean? Is like we know exactly when Thanksgiving is going to be, regardless of the date. So yeah, I mean, I'm in support of full paid holiday. Starting, we would probably have to have a start date too, but that might be a technicality that's up to the board. I don't see why they would not have it be effective immediately, such that it affects this year, 2022.
So can I make the motion, JC?
Yes, please.
So I would like to make a motion that the REDI committee recommend to the board that Ridgeville Park District recognize Juneteenth as a holiday, as a paid holiday, effective immediately.
Seconded.
Martha, if you were talking to us, you were muted. Just, I saw your mouth moving. I wasn't able to hear you.
I was trying to second it, but Elaine did, and I was muted. Sorry.
Awesome. Just real quick. I don't know if anyone else has anything else that they want to discuss. Natalie, of course, again, I'm just thinking about camp. I don't know if it will mess up the camp calendar. I don't know where the stage is in that, in terms of closing camp for that day.
Yeah. It will. but you know,
And then the, like the financial piece of that too, paying all the counselors for that day.
yeah.
I just want to make sure we have this really well thought out.
With,
Because camper rates are set already.
yeah, that's not I mean, I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
I believe our ordinance states that the way paid holidays work is that it applies to, like, the park is closed, right? It's closed, but the paid piece only applies to full-time or permanent part-time employees. So
Wouldn't include camp staff anyway.
yeah, because I'm just thinking about like the 4th of July, like seasonal part-time, they don't work. We're closed, but they're not they're not paid for the day.
Okay. I just want to make sure
Yeah.
we have that thought through for the board meeting next week.
No, that's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. So Brian will be able to speak more to that, and I'll tell him about our conversation. Obviously, you'll put it on the agenda. That'll go out, the final board agenda, but I'll talk to him about that so he can come prepared to talk about like the ins and outs of how the holidays work for us.
Fantastic. Is there any other discussion? Does anyone else have anything else they want to add? All right, Julie, if you could please roll call vote us.
All right, JC Herman,
Yes.
Natalie Salee,
Yes.
Elaine Siegel,
Yes.
Martha Gaines.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you all. And Kimon, thank you so much for coming.
Yay!
I mean, it's step one, right? We still have another meeting next
Yeah.
week. This is we've been talking about this for several weeks now, and I feel like we're coming to this decision really well informed and well researched. And I'm excited to be able to bring this to the board next week. Kimon, thank you so much for joining our meeting today.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it. I'm excited to hear what we can do to support once Natalie finds out. She will pass on to the rest of us. And I also just want to thank you for your work. I had no idea what Juneteenth was until we started this committee, and Dr. Effion brought it up. And when I looked into it, I was really kind of horrified that it was something that I hadn't come across. And I appreciate your efforts in making sure that more and more people know about it and celebrate it. And I'm just really grateful for what you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming to join us. Come on.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for inviting me. And I look forward to seeing the final results.
Well, and keep us in mind too, if there's anything that we can do to support or, spread anything we can do in the future. We are hoping to build more momentum as we move forward. So keep us in mind.
Awesome. Will do. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your meeting. Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Okay. That felt good. Perfect. Our next item is voting on recommendation for equity training for incoming board members, committee members, and staff. Natalie, I will turn this one over to you.
Cool. So we had discussed this at the last meeting and decided that we would all kind of do the same thing, break out and do some independent research. I did some research and I found tons and tons and tons and tons of DEI training, lots of options online. But in terms of anything that was actually in Evanston, like a physical place that like you could gather together, should the pandemic allow us to do that soon. There wasn't a lot. Everything that popped up was either at the Y Equity Institute or led by the Y Equity Institute at other locations. I also spoke to Brian because that was something else I told you all that I would do in terms of like the cost and how that would affect budget. And he did confirm with me that that shouldn't be a concern for us. We have the budget money set aside for equity work. And Jerry did also confirm that if we've budgeted it, we should spend it. So, and we've been through the budget and kind of dog-eared some places that we can, kind of hold off and pause while this whole levy thing is being sorted out. So anyway, got the green light, full support, especially for that amount of money to move forward with what it would cost to do workshops with the Equity Institute. Yeah, so that's it. Did anybody else find anything interesting? Did you find things in Evanston or online that you liked the look of?
I will echo what you just said. I did find, and I can, you know what, I'll send it to Julie so she can send it out to everybody. I made a little chart. I looked around for different places. But most of what I found was, it was more general. It wasn't quite specific for boards, which I think is really important, right? I think it needs to be not just a general equity training, but specifically how people can use that equity training in their positions. I found some interesting things, but they were not anything that I felt would be better than the YW. I will just to point it out real fast. I thought it was really interesting. The Skokie Park District has a page on their equity initiatives. And it just kind of lists out all the different things that they have done in terms of equity. Something as simple as one of the things was having people's languages put on their name tags, which I thought was really neat. But I did not find, I found some more in-depth consultant sort of things, but I did not find anything along the lines of what the YW has to offer. I didn't find anything comparable. I don't know, Elaine or Martha, I don't know if you had a chance to look or if you found anything else, but I from what I saw, I think the YW is the best bet.
And the Y was my idea as well.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I didn't have a time to do a bunch of research, but I also sort of on some level chose not to do more research because I was thinking about it and I was just feeling so thankful that the YWCA Equity Institute exists and is here. And after partaking in a number of their workshops, I know, a little bit about what they're doing, and it was so helpful to attend. And it's local, and I just feel like there's so many reasons to support them. I don't think we have to commit to go to them forever because this is thankfully a booming area of expansion. And, there may be different options down the road that fit us better. But I think right now, there's definitely not any option that has presented itself as being better. And there's also a lot of reasons to stick with the YWCA Equity Institute. Another thought that I had too, just about the idea that I think was brought up last meeting about possibly trying to find, free resources for this purpose. Free is always good. Free always sounds good to people. But something that I was reminded of when I was thinking about this is that equity work is really important, and the people who do it studied to do what they do. They work hard, and like anyone else who works and gets paid for it, this is something that we put our money where our mouth is, and we pay for it, especially because we've already budgeted to do things relating to equity. So we already have the money for that purpose, but also because it's not fair or correct to go out into the world like, ooh, let's see if we can get this for free, because it's sort of like illegitimizes or invalidates or it literally takes income away from people who do the work for pay. And I don't know if I'm articulating myself, but I just kind of felt like yet another reason to sort of pay the reasonable rate that the YWCA Equity Institute charges for the, amazing work that they do. And for the foreseeable future, I think that they're a good fit for us.
I did find there's an organization called the Nonprofit Learning Lab. They have, I mean, you have to join and they've got a bunch of free trainings. Like one of them is how to recruit board members of color, moving from diversity and inclusion to anti-oppression. But I also felt like this was going to be something that would be, I think, more helpful to us moving forward and not necessarily in this moment.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
also, it's all online, it's national. I think the other piece that we need to keep in mind is that, you know, like this came up when we were interviewing consultants, you know, the first time around. Evanston is a unique place, right? Like it's one thing when you're trying to get people to understand what equity is. It's a whole different boat when you're talking to people who think they already know what equity is. And I think that for that also, I think that we should be going to the YW because they know our community.
I agree. And I also just want to remind everybody, like, creating a consistent equity training piece is part of what's being built into the contract or agreement that will happen with the next equity consultant. That's something that we were intending to do with Dr. Effiam and weren't able to achieve. And then, you know, something that we had worked into Dr. Logan's contract and agreement. And so will then be rolled over into whoever we end up working with. So I feel like we should always take advantage and work closely with the Equity Institute because I think they're great and they're local and they do really wonderful things. But this is kind of a short-term recommendation to achieve the thing that the equity charter has stated and been that was passed by the board that would happen, is that any incoming board member, staff member, or committee member would go through an equity training. A lot of us have already done that. But we'll have at least 6 people that need to do it here in probably the next month or so. So it's a short-term solution. I think we're all on the same page about it. So I'd be happy to make a motion if.
Awesome.
Are you
Please do.
ready? Okay. All right. I make a motion that we recommend, the REDI committee recommends to the board that new board members, staff members, and committee members that have not yet gone through an equity training go through an equity training workshop with the YW Equity Institute. As soon as possible. Should we put a timeline on that?
I'm sorry, you and Martha spoke at the same time. I lost that last piece.
I was just gonna say, should we put a timeline on that? Like as soon as possible or by the end of the fiscal year? I don't know.
I think by the end of the fiscal year is probably as soon as possible, right? We only have a couple months left, right?
Yeah.
By the time people, you know, find the time and sign up, I think that those two things might be synonymous.
Okay.
Well,
Martha,
are you making, is the motion that you just made applicable in a perpetual way, or is it literally just about this particular year?
No, it's any, okay, well, I guess then to rephrase, it's any existing or incoming board member, staff member, or committee member that has not yet gone through equity training with the park district. So I've done it, JC's done it, Brian's done it, Martha's done it. Anybody who did it with Dr. Effiam, I don't think needs to do it again unless they would like to. Of course, they're welcome to do that. But we have Mick Morrell, Matt Rogers, we have Jung Hauer, Jose Montoya. We might have a new committee member soon. So we have a group. We have a group that needs to go through that training, and that was passed in the equity charter.
Well, I have another question too about your motion. When you say, I don't remember your exact wording, but as most of us, or maybe all of us know, the YW has this sort of a la carte approach to their workshop. So you can register, you know, one by one. You can redo a workshop you've done already. You can sign up for new ones as they release new content. So there isn't, and I was actually just sort of brainstorming on this a minute ago when you reminded all of us that in our equity charter, the training that we all went through with Dr. Effiam is very much supposed to be something that everyone does. And unfortunately, Dr. Effiam's no longer with us. So what we did with her isn't something we can recreate, but the goal would be to do something similar, whether it's an outside entity that we use, like the YWCA Equity Institute, or whether it's our equity consultant themselves who does that with us, like Dr. Effiam did, or if it's door number 3 of some sort that we haven't specified yet. But in terms of like your motion, which workshop, or is it like any workshop? You know what I mean? Because there's different ones. So what exactly?
Well,
Yeah, Natalie, what were you saying?
Can you hear me? So the YW's workshops, they have different dates. So right now there's only 2 upcoming workshops that they have available. One is specifically for boards, one is for institutions. So I'm not sure if by declaring which one they need to go to is going to be the most beneficial in making sure it gets done. I feel like I'm kind of the mind that they pick one and do it, because the content focuses on different things, but like their message of equity is pretty universal. I feel like just based on the time constraint that we have, I don't know, I would be of the mind to tell them to go to anyone with the YW that they can go to.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, in the workshops I've done, I can't remember exactly how many I've done, 3, 4, or 5, something like that. They definitely sort of cross-reference each other. It's like the content is never completely like mutually exclusive from the other content, and yet they definitely try to make a digestible amount that fits in 3 hours that focuses on a certain theme, obviously. Like I said, we can't recreate what. Natalie, can you hear me? Because you're frozen on my screen. I don't know if you guys are seeing her frozen as well.
She is frozen. I was hearing her okay.
It was choppy, like it was like delayed, and then it was, so I think I heard everything she said, but now she's like permanently frozen.
She'll come back to us soon, I hope.
Well, I was just gonna say that, oh, it looks like she's signing in through the other account.
Recording in progress.
Hi.
Hey, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Am I echoing?
Yeah, because
Okay, I gotta mute it for a second. Hold on. I can hear you though.
Okay. All right, and you signed in through the other account as well?
We have 2 Natalies now. It's exactly what the Park District needs.
Okay, Natalie, what I was saying is a number of things. One, I totally agree with you that whatever workshops they have available is obviously what people would have access to. So we can't like ask people to do a workshop that isn't available before end of fiscal year. And also every workshop is valuable. So whatever they can do is good. What would be great is if there were a way through the Equity Institute to take one workshop. It would have to be like 12 hours long for them to consolidate all of the content. Or, I mean, I get the a la carte model and it feels very accessible. Like, oh, I haven't done this one yet. And here's this date. I'll commit. I'll go to that one. And then I don't know when I'm doing the rest, but I'll get to it. But at the same time, for our needs, it would be really cool if there were a way to sign up for it all at once and either have it be like 5 Saturdays in a row that you're doing a workshop, and each week is, more information. And we did originally talk to Tiffany McDowell way back now about the idea that we would even host some of the workshops. Do you guys remember this, when we were sort of brainstorming on forming a partnership with them, and how, well, Natalie's frozen again. Natalie, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm echoing because my computer's frozen, so I can't get out of it. So I need JC to kick me out because she's host.
Oh,
Ooh, I can do that.
Okay, thank you. But yes, I can hear what you're saying, Martha.
But wait, which you do I kick out?
Kick out Natalie.
Okay.
Natalie number 1. Natalie number 2 gets to stay.
Yeah, not my alternate personality.
I don't want to take us down a rabbit hole too much here, because maybe this is a conversation for the future about trying to create a consistent, replicable, equity training that makes it the same thing somehow readily available on any timeline, such that when new committee members come, new board members, new staff, it's ready to go. We don't have that right now, but
that's the goal. I mean, that's why I said, like, it's built into this contract that whoever our new equity consultant will be, is that will be part of their work with us, is to create a recorded equity training session that's consistent, that we will all go through when anybody comes on, board or staff or committee. But in the interim, when we don't have that to satisfy what needs to be done per the charter, that's why I wanted to recommend to the board that existing or incoming folks that have not gone through the equity training go to the Y for a workshop.
Mm-hmm. I think that perhaps something that one or more of us can pursue in the future would be brainstorming with the YWCA Equity Institute to see if it might still be an option that we could either host on our premises. Again, I'm kind of envisioning a post-COVID physical presence at the Park District. I mean, not that we're not doing things in person, but I'm kind of picturing, like, in the old days, that we could have had, like, the racial healing circle that we had, some of us in here went to that. And so, if we were to host it and the YW comes and they offer their content on our grounds, and then we help publicize it, and then we, hopefully schedule it in such a way that any incoming committee members, board members, staff can get in on it too. I just think that's like a win-win-win, because it offers it to the community at a South Evanston location instead of, just at the Equity Institute. But again, I don't want to take us too far down that hole. We can connect with the Equity Institute and see if that's something they're interested in. They may well just not be, because they've got all their own stuff going on. And because they offer this content in a way where anyone can just sign up and go to them as they're scheduled, I think that's definitely the place where we should land for right now. But Natalie, when I asked you if it was like a perpetual recommendation, like, oh, we're always on this yearly schedule, that new people, by the end of the fiscal year that they come in on, do a workshop. I think that doesn't need to be a perpetual recommendation right now, because hopefully if we get our equity consultant sooner rather than later and work something out that creates a training, then that will be the go-to. But
no, I totally agree with you. This is an interim situation. This is the board has passed a charter that says this is supposed to happen, and it hasn't happened. And we don't have an equity consultant. So in order to satisfy that piece of the charter, this is like a temporary fix, essentially. But yes, I agree with what you're saying, and the goal is definitely to have a training that, like, just like when commissioners, for example, are elected, they go to boot camp with IAPD. It's the same kind of thing. It's like you have to also go through our equity training.
Right.
Like new employees have to, like, do the sexual harassment training. They would also have to do the equity training. It's like that will happen, and that will exist soon, hopefully, but we just don't have it yet.
Right. And I think the only tricky part, just to, like, execute it, technically speaking, the only tricky part would be if somebody comes into the mix very, very close to year end. And in that case, they just do it into the next fiscal year, because it's not fair to be like, oh, you only have 2 weeks to complete this, requirement.
I mean, I think it's fair to say within like 6 months of hire, right? Or appointment.
Yeah. So maybe that should be the wording, actually, within 6 months of joining, as opposed to fiscal year, because we don't know when people are going to come in. So,
and that also gives opportunity, because the Y changes up their workshops and drops new dates. Right. So, I think that gives flexibility in terms of, like, selecting which workshop you want to go to. But again, this is the YW thing is just a quick fix for the problem that we have. Like, eventually, I don't, maybe they need 6 months to get it done. I'm not sure, but it will be readily available for them to do as soon as they're hired or as soon as they're appointed.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to reword your motion? I mean, we're a little bit, like there wasn't a second and we discussed it. So I don't know, technically speaking, like how we're supposed to handle that at the moment, but
No, I think it did. I think it did need to be reworded. I forget exactly what Natalie said at first, but I think I think it needs to be said again and put back out there.
Okay.
So then I'll make the motion that we recommend, the REDI committee recommends to the board that existing or incoming commissioners, staff members, or committee members go through an equity workshop with the YW Institute within the next 6 months.
Is there a second?
I'll second. I was just pondering within the next 6 months makes it sound like 6 months from now, but you mean like within 6 months from their date of joining?
Well, no, because this motion is specific for this particular
This is-
situation.
Yeah, this is specific for like the very new commissioners, staff, and committee members, or the incoming within the next like couple of months, because there will be people coming in the next couple of months. Beyond that, I would hope we have an equity consultant in place that will have recorded an equity training for us, and then this will not be an issue. This is for like existing and like very newly incoming.
Okay, yes, I
Does that make
second.
sense? Okay.
All right, roll call. JC Herman,
Real fast, I just want to see if there's any more discussion before we move into a vote. Okay, I just want to make sure. Sorry, Julie. Go ahead.
good. JC Herman,
Yes.
Elaine Siegel,
Yes.
Martha Gaines,
Yes.
Natalie Slee,
Yes.
Awesome. I haven't done any equity training in a while. I need to get that back in my schedule. Okay, that moves us into new business, which our first one is, I would like to introduce to you all Andrew. Andrew, I should have introduced you at the beginning of the meeting. I'm very sorry. I just kind of let you sit here and watch us for a while. But Andrew reached out. I was super excited. He's interested in the committee. So just so you all know, I mean, essentially, we're going to give him the same opportunity that we had to like ask questions. And then we will ask him just to hold off for a week. And if he, by next Thursday, decides that he would still like to be a member of the committee, then he can come to the board meeting and hopefully the board will choose to appoint him. But so Andrew, welcome. Thank you so much for your interest. I don't know if you want to share a little bit about who you are, if you have questions for us.
Yeah, hi, everyone. It's good to be with you. And I peeked in. JC sent me the links to the last meetings, and so I listened into the last meetings and kind of got a sense of the flow and the nature of the conversations and such. So my family and I moved to Ridgeville July of 21. We've been in Evanston for about 7 years total. And I'm a professor up at Garrett Seminary on Northwestern's campus up on Sheridan Road. And yeah, so the way I found out about the REDI committee was, well, before I say that, we live a block south of Leiter Park. And in our family, that's Forest Park. So, and we also live like, it's about 4 blocks away from the community house and where the concerts are. So we're regular attendees at the concerts every week in the summer. And so we really love the Ridgeville Park.
Yay,
We
thank
discovered
you.
the ice rink this winter. We bought some ice skates. So we're enjoying the ice rink as well. So we've really loved Ridgeville Park and Park District, excuse me. And the way I found out about this is I'm part of the NAACP Evanston North Shore branch and part of the Civic Engagement Committee chaired by Willie Shaw. And Willie brought to the committee that the REDI committee was looking for members. And does anyone live in the Ridgeville Park District? And so I think I was the only person in that meeting who lived in the Ridgeville Park District and also love it. So I was like, yes, I'd love to be involved in any way if I can be supportive. So and we also thought it'd be kind of cool, and Willie mentioned this, is to have a kind of a connection, and maybe there's other connections as well, but to have a connection sort of between the Civic Engagement Committee of the NAACP North Shore branch and the REDI committee as well. Yeah, so I think that is that enough, JC?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for us? About the
Not
committee or?
really.
Okay.
You answered most of my questions when we chatted. Yeah, not really. Incidentally, I knew Dr. Effiam. I'd met Dr. Effiam quite a few times because she was at Garrett, a student at Garrett, and then she'd attend events and stuff. So back, in the mid 2000 teens, engage with her every now and again as well.
That makes me really happy. She was such a great person. It makes me happy when I find out that people knew her and just had an opportunity to get to absorb some of that wonderfulness that she was. I wish I personally could have gotten a little bit more. I mean, I know a lot of people do, right? But yeah, she was great. Well, thank you. I really am very excited about your interest. I think that's one thing that the committee needs to start doing, is making connections to other organizations, both nationally and within Evanston. So I'm very excited about that possibility. And I think that we need to do some more of that as we move forward and we grow. I feel like we're a little bit stronger than we have been in a little while, and it feels really good to be at this point and be welcoming you in as we move forward, hopefully. Well, thank you. Does anyone else have either any questions or anything else they would like to say?
Can I just say, Andrew, thank you for coming to our concerts. I've got a great lineup for you this summer.
Great.
I have questions, JC. Maybe I will sound like a fool when I ask this, because I know you already sent out the sort of procedure that we're following, but I thought it would be good to, so maybe it's not a question, but just double checking that I'm right about this. So Andrew, we met him tonight, and then he has sort of like a week to ponder the commitment after kind of being here, listening to us, and we'll come back and officially commit. Is that kind of what the next step is?
Yes.
And as in commit, I mean that we ask for a minimum of a 1-year commitment if possible. Is that kind of where we're at still? That's what I'm remembering.
No, that was one piece that did not get brought back up again.
Okay.
Was the 1-year commitment. I think more what I had stressed was like taking the week to think about it, and then hopefully be appointed at the board meeting next year.
Okay. Are we feeling like we don't want to ask for a year commitment from people, like officially kind of changing that piece? I feel like Dr. Effiam came up with that originally.
I think you're right. I think that's a piece that had gotten kind of fallen by the wayside in terms of that 1-year commitment. I don't want to scare anyone away because it's sort of arbitrary a year, but I think the point of it, if I remember, Dr. Effiam's thoughts on that correctly, is just that making sure people are sort of interested and able to foresee at least that they're participating kind of on a longer term, a year being long term, as opposed to it being something that, because the committee grows as an entity based on the people that are in it. And I'm stepping down from the board because I'm moving out of the district, and I have to step down. And so my position on this committee as the board member is automatically stopping also. So, when people move and they didn't know they were going to, it is what it is, right? Like, I'm not going to be punished for leaving earlier than I planned to. But I think it's good to just make clear that we would love a long-term commitment, but I don't think we need to put a super fine point on exactly how many months or years that needs to be. That's just kind of my answer in the moment. No, thank you, Martha. I think that's a good point, right? I want to make sure that anyone who's interested in the committee really is looking at this as a long-term commitment. Having people just pop in and pop off every few months is not conducive to the long-term work that we really are looking to do. Excuse me. So I do think that's an important thing to take into consideration with new committee members. And, Andrew, something for you to think about too is, and you're familiar with this work, right? So like making sure that you've got the whatever it is that you need right now in your life to be able to make that kind of commitment, with the understanding that, like, as we've all learned, life can be a little bananas and a little surprising sometimes.
I have another logistical question. A week from tonight is the board meeting. And we, I think in the past, went through some formal motions of the board appointing when we were forming the committee in the first place. And I don't think we've actually had any turnover since then. So when it comes to Andrew, assuming he does want to join us, so first of all, a week from tonight is the board meeting. So are we wanting him to answer us before the board meeting such that we're able to appoint him officially that night? And if not, does it mean it waits for another month, or how do we want to handle that part?
Well, I mean, if he does not get appointed next week, it would have to wait.
Right.
The subsequent month. There's no two ways about that.
Maybe
Essentially,
it should be up to him. I mean, if he feels ready to commit before the board meeting, we just need to get that on the agenda perhaps, or yeah.
Yes. There's a few things that the REDI committee needs to get on the agenda for next week that I'll be sending to Natalie.
Martha, JC had me forward a letter to the board about tonight and about Andrew specifically, so that they all were prepared for the fact that we were bringing him to the board meeting for appointment next week. So it won't be a surprise. And yes, after tonight, JC will send me an email and give me all the things that she wants me to add to the board agenda.
Okay, and I do remember that email, but I can't say that I think I skimmed it, and I knew what we were talking about tonight. I just didn't know if we were already on the same page that that's planned for the board meeting. So that's great. Okay, I mean, I think we're probably good with what we are you feeling, JC, like we've kind of covered the territory with Andrew that we were planning to cover? Okay.
I just want to add that I'd be delighted if you join us. I hope you do.
I'm thrilled to learn how you found out about us, because I remember meeting with Willie Shaw in the conference room at Ridgeville. It feels like ages ago. Natalie helped me out. We met with Willie Shaw and William Easton at the same time. Is she there?
Yeah, we did. That was like over 2 years ago now.
Yeah. It was definitely pre-pandemic. And I remember talking about Willie Shaw's experience of living near Ridgeville, like growing up near Ridgeville, and kind of talking about the historical experiences in contrast with experiences today, and like holding space for everyone's kind of thoughts and feelings and experiences of Ridgeville in the context of race, and basically trying to have a conversation where there was a place for all pieces, all viewpoints, all memories, everything. And I didn't get to know Willie Shaw too much, but I really enjoyed meeting her, and that was a great meeting to have had. There have been a lot of things that have happened over the course of 2+ years working at this, and that's just really cool that the news of us and what we're doing kind of made its way to you in that capacity. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Willie's amazing. Willie has been at it for a long time, and really sort of faithful in Evanston.
I'm excited at the possibilities of what this is going to bring. I'm really excited. Okay, I'm going to bring us to our last agenda item. It's the YWCA Equity Institute Stand Against Racism. Natalie, this is your item.
Sorry, yes. So I had talked about this last meeting about potentially making a video for them because they had kind of put a call out to individuals or organizations that wanted to submit something. And for the research, I discovered that it's a little more intricate. They have an actual like online video app situation that you have to make the video from. I was thinking maybe I could just like take a section of recording from our video or from our meeting and submit it, but it's not that easy. So I don't think we can do that. However, if individually you would like to submit a video, either on behalf of yourself or as a REDI committee member, you know, that's great. And you can reach out to me and I'm happy to share the link with you. But their Stand Against Racism is happening in April, and we've participated in the past, meaning we've kind of registered as like a sponsor or like a location where people could come and stand with their signs. So I intend to do that again. Because my computer is frozen and I can't open it, I don't have the date handy, but I will forward that to everybody so you know. So if you'd like to join us at the park, you're welcome to. If you're not able to, that's perfectly fine. We'll be standing out there on the corner with our signs. And that was it.
Thank you. I was going to see if I can find the date real fast, but I was not fast enough, and I won't keep you all. Thank you for sharing that. I think it'd be nice to, you know, have good representation from Ridgeville in that video.
Yeah. And I do have to, I just have to give a shout out to my laptop who was like brought out of the grave to get me through the pandemic, 2 years of working from home, but I think has officially now kicked the bucket. So I apologize that I've had so many technical difficulties tonight, but you know, it did me well for a couple of years, but I think it's moving on.
No worries. I mean, for as often as you're on Zoom, to have, you know, the few amount of technical difficulties that you have. And thank you for your hard work, computer.
Should this go in the call of the committee?
Oh, yes. Yeah, sorry, I fast forwarded.
And that does bring us to call of the committee. If anybody has anything that they would like to say, now is your chance. Sorry, go ahead.
You want me to go?
Yes, please.
Okay, sorry. Sometimes there's that weird delay where you've like hit your unmute and then you start to talk, but somebody else does too. Two things. One, I just looked it up and the date is, because I think you were just saying you didn't have the date. I'm sorry if I had an 8-year-old distracting me a moment ago. So, and now that I've tried to make my screen show two things at once. Okay. Thursday, April 28th from 10:30 to 11 on Ridge Avenue in Evanston. And it says, after the stand, join us for a virtual discussion from Loretta J. Ross, activist and professor of human rights, from 12 to 1:30. This will be a free event. So if you Google, you know, Stand Against Racism Evanston, it takes you to the YWCA page that's got that information on there. And then my second thing is just that I wanted to put it out there that I would very much love to be a committee member, even after I move out of the Ridgeville Park District boundaries and am no longer on the board. So I'd be a community member as opposed to, you know, what I am now. But I can't remember where we landed about having people on this committee who don't live within the boundaries. And so I'm just in call of the committee right now. I'm not trying to have a discussion. I'm just sharing that I want to put it out there that I would love to remain on the committee, especially if we haven't filled membership with other people, because if I may be so bold as to say that I think I'm better than nothing. So in other words, if I could keep filling a seat, since we want members, and since I've been around since the beginning and that would be great. So I just kind of want to put it out there, have you all think about it. You know, if the consensus ends up being that you want to prioritize people in the district, even with open seats on the committee, no harm, no foul. You know, I want it to be a decision that you all make. And I'm fine with whatever. I'm an elected member of the Ridgeville board, and I simply have to step down since I'm out of the boundaries. but my mom still lives in the Ridgeville boundaries. I still have many friends. I'm planning to stay connected to the Park District. So it's not like I'm going to be that far away. And it is one Evanston. It is one state. It is one country, you know. So in that regard, I think I could still be relevant and helpful as a member of the committee. But, you know, a decision for the committee as it stands after I'm no longer on the board to make. So just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you, Martha. You are better than nothing in a lot of ways. Okay, unless anyone else has anything to say. All right, well, I will call us adjourned. It is 8:02.
We don't have to vote, right, on adjourning?
I think we have been doing a roll call vote to adjourn, to be honest with you. So Julie, if you could roll call us out, please. Thank
J.C.
you.
Herman,
Yes.
Elaine Siegel,
Yes.
Martha Gaines,
Yes.
Natalie Salee.
Yes.
Great. Is Matt Rogers joining us?
Matt Rogers is a citizen joining us.
Oh, great. He's noted.
Awesome.
Thank you, Julie.
They're noted. Yep.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.